We are going to take a little bit deeper dive into calibrating your Mockmill today. I made a short video, which I can link in the description below, that shows you how to calibrate it. But today I'm going to tell you a little bit of why I calibrate it this way. I'm going to show you a little demonstration and tell you what Mockmill told me. Okay, so on the booklet, I actually, after a couple of years of owning it, read a little. On the website or in the book, it says to set your mill at 1 with your stones just barely clicking. However, the video online, which is what I feel like most people use, says to set your stones to clicking at 3. That way, once it's milling, you can tighten it just a little bit and get finer flour. I also have said this a long time ago in previous videos that Mockmill does not actually recommend you running flour through and then running it again through to make it finer unless you're using rice to clean it. And then in that case, you run it at like 10, run it through, set it coarser or finer, run it through, and then do it again. That is to clean your stones. But as far as running wheat through and then putting it back through, they do not recommend that to be your normal practice. They recommend that you run it through and that it should be the finest that you want it to be. Now, if you accidentally run it through and you were at a 10 and you have very thick corn, throw it back in. But with what I had seen in the past, and I do think that this is a pro to Mockmill that you can do that, but they say they don't recommend it. But I had seen people say, oh, they run it through at this number and then they run it through again at this number to get it extra fine. They said they don't recommend doing that. You can do that, but again, it's not necessary. So, all that to say, Mockmill does not recommend it. I've actually talked to them to verify some of the things because I was like, your video and your book do not match. This is what I'm seeing people say on the internet. Is this true? Is this what you recommend? So, the person I spoke with said that setting your stones to 1 would be sufficient and that would be fine. And my husband pointed out that when you have a manual for something, you are, and I forget the exact words, but it's like they want it to be, this is the way to use the mill at the least chance of issue. Okay, so it's gonna be maybe a little bit safer than maybe how people actually use it. So the company themselves has a video on their website of using it at 3. And so I couldn't figure out why. In my other video I tell you, but basically if you set it at 3 and then as it mills, you can set it finer and it is a lot finer. So if you set it to 1, you can't really go much finer than that. And this is what I'm finding, and this is what I'm gonna demonstrate. When you start milling at 3, after you've been milling for a while and the stones start to heat up, you can actually move it finer because I guess they are expanding or they're moving away for some reason. And so what I had asked the Mockmill guy is that when I'm milling, if I start at 3, by the time I'm done milling, my stones will click at 2. He says once they cool off, they'll probably click again at 3. So that's what I'm gonna test. But what I noticed was if I'm milling a lot and I start at 3, then they're clicking at 2. Then I start at 2, they're clicking at 1. So I like to set it at 3 or a little bit higher so that as I'm milling, I'm gonna get the finest flour and I can even check it every now and then and adjust it down farther. Now that does mean that I'm not gonna get as coarse. So used to my cream of wheat, I would mill at 10. Well, now 10 just isn't as coarse because it's technically like a 6. I hope you're tracking with me. So we are gonna do a demonstration. We're gonna see how it works. But I think it's working fine. I think that Mockmill is doing fine. I think if you set it at a 1 and you run it through, your flour is gonna be fine. It's just not gonna be as fine as if you set it to 3 and you tighten it a little bit more. So I wanted to just give this long, I tend to talk too much and make long videos. So for that video, I was trying to do some short videos to just be helpful because I've had some people ask. But then I had people asking me, well, is this gonna, mess it up? All these different things. I also went online and found a Mockmill Facebook page or something. I can't remember where it was, but it's Facebook, but I don't remember what the group was called, but it's definitely Mockmill. And I just asked people, how do you set your meal. And most people said, well, it doesn't matter how you set it because you're just getting your stones to click, and then, you know, you're basically just feeling for fineness. And so I said, yes, I get that. I understand that it really doesn't matter, but I'm asking everyone's preference. Like, where do you set it? Do you set it to 1? Do you set it to 3? Do you set it to 5? So a lot of people just said they set it, they do it, and then they just feel to see where it is. So again, they're not setting it to 1. It does sound like they're setting it higher so that they have a little bit of wiggle room. And you never ever want to over tighten while it's grinding. The only reason that you can start it and then have the stones clicking and then tighten it is because there is something between your stones. You don't ever want to turn it on and then tighten it as tight as it will go, because you're going to damage your stones. So I always am nearby. I put it where they're just barely clicking, start it, run it through, tighten it a little bit, wash dishes, do something around, and then before it's done, I back it away, look in, maybe tilt it a little bit, and then turn it off so that my chute is clear and the stones are not touching. So I will say that, be careful, don't mess up your stones. But after a year or longer of using it, I found out that I can have much finer flour. And again, in a lot of Facebook groups, people will say it doesn't matter. And you're right, it doesn't really matter. But I have people asking me which one's the finest, and I've done lots of different tests with different meals. So that's why I'm asking. It really doesn't matter for bread, but if you are doing something like cakes and cookies, it is nice to have really fine flour. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn it on. We're gonna see where they're clicking at. We're gonna run just a little bit through, and I'm gonna see if there's gonna adjust any. I'll probably take some out because it can be loud, and you don't need to just be watching me sitting here waiting on the mill. So. Okay, it's clicking it through. Okay, so I back off, check the chute and the thingy, open, close a little. Okay, so come look on this side. We were clicking 3.5, 3 last time. I'm going down, clicking at 2. Okay, so it has definitely moved back. Sorry, that was a little awkward. I feel like that took a long time. It definitely was clicking at a lower number than what we started at. It took about 7 to 10 minutes before, I think it was like 10 minutes in, when I could kind of move it lower. And I moved it to like 2. I even pressed a little bit tighter and it didn't make the like sound until about 1 even. So again, if you're setting your Mockmill at 1, you're losing numbers. So again, having it at a higher number. Now, could you do this at 6? Sure, you can do it like they said online. It doesn't matter what number, but people are gonna ask. So that's why I'm making the video. Okay, so yeah, I'll let them cool. I'm also curious, I always scoot it back because I'm curious if I leave it at 2 and then they go back to normal, if that will be really tight. So I always just push it off, and then before I go to run it, turn it on, slide it to where they click, and then run it through. Something else I was gonna tell you. So at 10 minutes, yeah, I could do it a little bit tighter. Oh, that was the thing. So roughly I measured how much grain by weight was in 1 cup. I just doubled it. So this is roughly 1,100 grams of grain. So I divided it by, it took us 16 minutes. That's roughly 71 grams per minute. Now this is a Mockmill 100, so it should be doing 100 grams per minute. So that's the only downside that I see to this, and so sometimes I do bump it back up and not go. Hopefully I'll show you in the video. You want to go by ear, and you want to go by how much is coming out of your chute. If you are tightening it super tight and it's just barely coming out, you are probably going to back up your meal or get it glazed. That is okay, but it should not be happening. I had somebody comment and say, I hate this thing, it's glazing all the time. that should not be happening. I have glazed it once I figured, like, I don't think I'd ever glazed it until I figured out that you could set it at 3 and go quicker. And then I did glaze it a couple of times because I was feeling it out. So if you are glazing, something is wrong. Okay, that is not normal. That is not a normal Mockmill thing, at least in my years of experience. Okay, so the only negative side is that when you do it more fine, and Anna was commenting like, oh wow, it is a lot finer once you back down further. But the only downside is that with the 100, you should be getting 100 grams per minute. When you do it finer, you're getting like 70 grams per minute. So it's just whether or not you want to wait for it. Some days I want to wait for it, some days I don't. So yeah, it just depends. But it is maybe something to consider. Now, I wish I would have got the 200, but when I was getting it, we were completely switching to fresh mill. We had no idea if we were gonna like it, because at that point we didn't even know the health benefits. But once we got our meal, we started trying it, and we found out about the health benefits, I was like, I don't care if we like it or don't, we are sticking with it. So anyways, I think it was fine. Then I didn't want to spend the extra money. And luckily when I got my meal, it also hadn't went up in price, because now I do feel like there are more and more people milling. So anyways, kind of a sporadic video. This is why I was trying to make some shorter videos, but I think that's all the questions. Yeah, it does change. You can set it higher. Mockmill says 1 is fine. They are aware that their video says higher, so you can set higher. Just be careful, listen. You wanna, when you turn it on, you wanna hear it clicking. You wanna start pouring your grain in, and then once it starts milling, feel it, look at it, pull it, see if it's kind of tight, see if it's really loose. And again, it's what kind of flour you're doing. Are you doing grits? Are you doing something that you need coarser? Are you doing cookies that you want really, really fine? So tighten it as you go. Keep check on it from time to time. Make sure it is still coming out your spout at a fairly good rate so that you do not glaze your meal. Sorry, our house is loud because we have lots of kids. We like kids and good food around here. So I'll try it now and we'll see, but if not, I'll let it cool and then come back. Okay, so now, come here. It is clicking at 1.5. So it is not back. It is not back yet, but that is my problem when I go to run it through. If I am like, this is a little bit under, I need 1,200, yeah, I need 1,200 grams for 2 loaves. So I do about 1,200 grams, I leave it running. The other downside to the 100, which I wasn't really aware of, is that you can overheat it. If you overheat it, which I have done, you just let it, like, turn it off. Yeah, turn it off, let it cool off, and then come back later, turn it on, and it'll go back to milling, not a big deal. But typically, for just us, it's not a big deal, but sometimes I do bake a lot, and so I'm milling a lot, and so sometimes it does shut off, but it's not been an issue, not a big deal. We just turn it off, turn it back on. So yeah, those are the things. Listen to your meal. It is pretty warm. Oh, okay, another question. Someone else, I've had a couple people ask about the temperature of the wheat. Okay, so it did get up when I was doing it at the finest. I was playing with the temperature. It got up to like 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot. And people say that that could kill the nutrients. I have no idea. I'm not a scientist. I do not know this. I have not researched this. I have researched it slightly. But this is what I think logically. When I bake it in the oven, I check my internal temperature. Didn't used to, I do now. I check the internal temperature. It gets to 190. So if when I bake it, the nutrients get to, or the nutrients, the flour, the bread gets to 190 up to 200, then what does it matter if this is 130? If you know, please let me know. But in what I'm thinking, it probably doesn't matter. I mean, it cools off fairly quickly. And if you don't want it to get that hot, back off and do it at your 3 where the stones are just clicking. Don't tighten it down to 2. Or do it looser and have coarser bread, which isn't a big deal. But yeah, so I don't know, but people have asked. So it does get hot sometimes if the stones are really close together, 120, 130. If you know if that matters, let me know, but I don't think it matters if it's gonna get to 190 anyways. Okay, now I think that's it, and we'll come back later and we'll see if the stones go back, or maybe they stay. I had kind of wondered if they stay and then I can tighten it even more next time, which is why, because I don't want to calibrate it often, why a higher number may be beneficial if you only do fine flour. So we'll see. I waited, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, came back. I needed more flour. I've got to move on with life. So I went ahead and milled some more. It was clicking at like 2 or 1. You just saw it was on, once it started, I put it on 1. It was just fine. This is soft white flour, but it may go back to 3. But again, I don't know that it matters. I was just trying to show you. I do also like to stir my flour at the end. I didn't always do that, but especially if it's Ezekiel mix, I like to stir it to make sure that everything's kind of incorporated good. So yeah, I think that at least for me, I like setting it at a higher number so that I have flexibility both ways. If before I edit this video it goes back to 3, I will let you know. But right now you can see it's still at 1. I think it does just tend to go down. But again, I'm milling it the same day within the same 1 second. It's the same day, same time. It's still going. Okay, we are going to test it to see. It is completely cool now. So let's see. Okay, so it does appear that he is correct. It does seem like it is clicking. I do think earlier it was kind of a little bit past the 3. Now it's right at the 3 or a little to the other side. But it did go back down. So I think it just, as you're milling, you can tighten it a little bit as it expands, and then you can push it back. Also, my daughter wanted me to tell you earlier when she was trying to interrupt the video that if you have helpful kids, because it's her favorite job, that you can, good thunder, they can stir the flour for you. That is some of the kids' favorite job, to sit and play island and stir the flour as they go. And it's a great job for kids to turn the bowl. I like to use this really big bowl instead of the small bowl so that I have to turn it less frequently. But if you can put a child to do it, they will turn it into a game. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or comments, about the flour thing, the heat thing, let me know.